The most feared kid in prison. The moniker, the most feared kid in prison, carries with it an air of notoriety and intrigue, encapsulating the enigma around an individual who commands a unique and often chilling reputation within the confines of a correctional facility. The title suggests a person whose presence elicits fear and respect among fellow inmates, perhaps due to a history of violent incidents, a compelling backstory, or a combination of factors that have propelled them into a position of prominence, albeit notoriety, within the prison hierarchy. Jasmine Richardson. Jasmine Richardson, a Canadian teenager, became infamous for her involvement in a shocking family murder that took place in Alberta in 2006. The tragic incident unfolded in the small town of Medicine Hat, sending shockwaves through the community and the nation. Born May 29, 1993, Jasmine Richardson was raised in a seemingly ordinary family. However, behind closed doors, she was struggling with mental health issues and delved into the dark world of online subcultures, particularly the gothic and vampire subculture. The fascination with the dark fantasy realm would eventually lead her down a path of violence and destruction. In 2006, at the age of 12, Jasmine met 23-year-old Jeremy Steinke through an online forum. He was a self-proclaimed 300-year-old vampire, and their online relationship quickly turned into something more sinister. Despite their age difference, the two became romantically involved, and Jeremy's influence on the impressionable young girl became apparent. On the night of April 23, 2006, tragedy struck the Richardson family. Armed with knives, Jeremy and Jasmine carried out their malevolent plan. They brutally murdered Jasmine's parents, Mark and Deborah Richardson, as well as their younger brother Jacob, who was only 8 years old at the time. The killings were carried out in a gruesome and heartless manner, leaving the small town of Medicine Hat in disbelief. After committing the murders, the couple fled and were on the run for several days. The police launched a manhunt to track them down, and their story quickly captured national and international media attention. The search ended when they were apprehended by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Leader, Saskatchewan on April 25, 2006. In 2007, both Jasmine Richardson and Jeremy Steinke stood trial for their murders. Jasmine, who is now 13 years old, became the youngest person in Canada to be charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder. The court found her guilty, and she was sentenced to 10 years in a psychiatric facility, the maximum punishment allowed for a person under the age of 14 in Canada. As for Jeremy Steinke, he was convicted of 3 counts of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison with no possibility of parole for 25 years. The court determined that he had played a significant role in orchestrating the murders and was a dangerous individual who posed a threat to society. The case of Jasmine Richardson shocked the nation and brought attention to the issue of teenage involvement in violent crimes. It raised questions about the influence of online subcultures and the role of mental health in such tragedies. While the community of Medicine Hat continues to heal from the trauma of that fateful night in 2006, the case of Jasmine Richardson remains a grim reminder of the devastating consequences that can arise from the convergence of disturbed minds and dark influences. Lionel Tate. In Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Lionel Tate was sentenced to life in prison. Tate was charged with the murder of his playmate, but blamed violent wrestling videos and television programming for accidental death. Tate's case made headlines because at 12, he was the youngest person. Because at 12, he was the youngest person in the United States to be sentenced to life in prison without parole for the killing of 6-year-old playmate Tiffany Unick. Tate pleaded that the murder was accidental, but the victim suffered a fractured skull, lacerated liver, and at least 35 other injuries. Although Tate was sentenced to life in prison, the court system continues allowing the troubled youth a number of second chances. His mother, Kathleen Grosset Tate, testified on Tate's behalf, swearing that she wouldn't allow Tate to violate parole, and the courts believed her. Tate now lives at home with his mother in Fort Lauderdale as he serves supervised probation with no more jail time. Corinne Rideau, a sophomore radio television film major, believes that Lionel Tate is getting off too easy. I don't understand why the system is letting this one slip through the cracks. If it had been any other black male, they would have kept him locked up, said Rideau. Mikhail Ankra. Mikhail Ankra, a junior mechanical engineer major, believes the court's conscience is playing a role. They've locked up so many good men for dumb stuff, they finally see that maybe they shouldn't lock them all up. They should let the ones go that still have a chance to make a difference. They're just cutting the brother a little slack. Many are blaming the problem on Florida's law system. Tate's plea follows several years of debate over a Florida law that requires children convicted of first-degree murder to get life in prison without parole. Yet in Tate's case, the law wasn't fully upheld. A Florida lawmaker has filed legislation that would allow children under 16 the eligibility of parole if they've not been previously convicted of violent crimes. Craig Price. Craig Chandler Price, a name that resonates with infamy in the annals of true crime, embarked on a chilling journey that unfolds in the quiet city of Warwick, Rhode Island, a tale that spanned the tumultuous years of his adolescence from the age of 13 to 15. Born October 11, 1973, Price began his life seemingly ordinary, yet the trajectory of his narrative took a dark turn that would forever alter the fabric of the community he called home. The earliest inklings of his descent into criminality manifested when he was just a teenager, a period that would be marked by youthful exuberance and the promise of a bright future. In the year 1986, at the tender age of 13, the first ominous notes of Price's criminal symphony emerged. It was during this time that he committed a series of gruesome murders in Warwick, sending shockwaves through the community and initiating a reign of terror that would grip the collective consciousness. As the calendar pages turned to 1987, Price, now 14 years old, continued his spree of violence. The city of Warwick became a haunting backdrop to his heinous acts, leaving residents in a state of fear and bewilderment. The authorities, grappling with the sinister puzzle that was Craig Chandler Price, endeavored to bring justice to the victims and their grieving families. The year 1988 marked the culmination of Price's reign of terror. At the age of 15, he committed his final documented crime. The details of these horrific acts, which involved multiple victims, unfolded like a nightmarish tapestry, staining the city with the indelible mark of tragedy. Consequently apprehended and facing the consequences of his unspeakable deeds, Craig Chandler Price entered the criminal justice system. The legal proceedings that followed sought to navigate the complexities of trying an individual who, at such a young age, had committed acts of unspeakable violence. As the story of Craig Chandler Price unfolded, the broader implications of his crimes sparked discussions about juvenile justice, mental health, and the unfathomable capacity for violence within the adolescent psyche. The legacy of his actions transcended the specific dates of his crimes, leaving an indelible imprint on societal consciousness and raising profound questions about the nature of criminal responsibility and rehabilitation. In recounting the chronicle of Craig Chandler Price, one cannot help but reflect on the tragic convergence of a young life with the darkest recesses of human nature. The dates that bookend his tale serve as markers not only of the temporal progression of his crimes, but also the signpost and the collective memory of a community forever changed by the harrowing events that unfolded during those formative years of a troubled adolescent. Nehemiah Griego. Nehemiah Griego was involved in a tragic incident known as the 2013 South Valley homicides in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Please note that discussing specific criminal events, especially those involving violence and harm to individuals, requires sensitivity and respect for the victims and their families. My response will be focused on providing a general overview without going into graphic details. Nehemiah Griego was born February 27, 1995, and he lived in the South Valley of Albuquerque. He came from a troubled family environment with reports of family issues, including domestic disputes and substance abuse problems. Griego's father, Greg Griego, was a pastor, and the family had connections to the local religious community. On January 19, 2013, at the age of 15, Nehemiah committed a heinous crime that shocked the community. Griego allegedly shot and killed his parents, Greg and Sarah Griego, as well as his 3 younger siblings, Zephaniah Griego, Jael Griego at 5, and Angelina Griego at 2. The incident took place at the family home in the South Valley. After the murders, Nehemiah reportedly spent time with friends, informing them of the gruesome act. It is said that he also planned to continue the violence at a local Walmart, where he intended to open fire. However, Griego's plans were thwarted when he was apprehended by law enforcement on January 20th, 2013. Nehemiah Griego faced charges related to the murders, including multiple counts of first-degree murder and child abuse resulting in death. Due to his age at the time of the crimes, there was discussion about whether Griego should be tried as an adult or a juvenile. Legal proceedings unfolded over the subsequent years, involving evaluations of Griego's mental health and culpability. In 2016, Nehemiah Griego pleaded guilty to all charges against him. The court system sentenced him to 30 years in prison for the murder of his parents and siblings. Griego's case sparked discussions about mental health, family dynamics, and the juvenile justice system. The 2013 South Valley homicides remain a tragic event, and the community was deeply affected by the loss of 5 lives. The case highlights the complexities surrounding juvenile offenders and the need for comprehensive approaches to address underlying issues, such as mental health and family dynamics. So guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. For more interesting content, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more awesome content. Have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next video.